Hey there! In this episode, we talked to Kathryn Ostrowski, a psychic medium who helps people find their true selves. We talked about her grandmother's haunted house, a cuckoo clock, and cutting through the BS to tell it like it is. I'm Lauren Leon.
And I'm Frank.
And we are a married couple who are developing our own intuition. And this is episode 44 of Clairvoyaging. Wayfeather Media presents Clairvoyaging.
What's up?
Hey guys. Frank was doing a little ad-lib
little rap. Little hip hop rapping over
Yeah.
the trapping.
Wow. Yeah. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of rap, do you know that I was in a classic Christmas musical when I was 16 and it was called Gift Wrap?
Let's save more information about that for the holidays.
We will, because I just found the VHS tape and it's Gift Wrap, R-A-P.
Lauren rapped.
Buckle up. I've told Frank about it and he can't wait to see. I was
put words in my mouth. That's fine.
I was the gift wrapper, and I won't say any more. Anyway, how's everyone?
Everybody good?
Guys, we've got a great episode today. And first, I want to tell you, we got some new Patreon members.
Did we?
Yeah. Lori and Laura.
Lori and Laura.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining. If you want to be cool like Lori and Laura, go to patreon.com/clairvoyaging podcast.
And thank you very much to both of you.
Yeah.
That's fun.
We've got a lot of fun stuff. Every week we're adding something. So join for $4 per month.
Come on in, swing on by. It's fine. You can have a good time.
The water's nice and cool. What is it? What do they say? The water's.
I don't think it's nice and cool. Though I think it's like the water's fine.
The water's fine. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't think of what it was.
Cool. What else you got?
And also, we have some extra footage from this conversation with Kathryn, and that'll be on our Patreon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Some extra bits of chat.
Little chat bits.
Come check it out.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
It's not so bad. We hope you had a great full moon and lunar eclipse, by the way. And that bring in new and out with the old, right?
Hey.
I'm
gonna sneak up on you here.
Yeah.
You know, Lauren has been very interested in getting deep into astrology, like really getting in there and learning all the things.
Kind of.
No, you are. You complain about it. You've been complaining about not knowing it for a long time. Anything moon-based.
Moon-based. I want to know moon cycles. I want to yeah.
Lauren wants to get
some rituals.
Lauren wants to get moon rapping. So what we need is a moon person.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be astrology. We need moon people. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Let's do a moon episode.
Yeah.
Talk about your new moon and full moon rituals.
And folks, if you send me a picture of your naked rear end, I will probably celebrate it.
That's not what we're talking about here,
not
guys.
That moon, no. Come on.
No.
Get your head out of the gutter.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was just yours.
Huh?
Anyway, that would be fun to learn. As far as astrology goes, I'm always like, I don't know. When you say, I know what the sun sign is, but if you say, I have a moon in Virgo, which I just learned I am, I don't know what that means. I want the information to just be dropped into my brain so that I don't have to actually learn it and understand it, which is so lazy.
That is not a great character trait.
I know.
You should not tell people about that.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Still love
but
you.
I do want it. Still what?
Love you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Let's get to it.
Guys, you're going to love Kathryn. She is a blast and a half.
A blast and a half. She's a straight pistol. Buckle up because you're in for a ride.
Yeah.
And she gets down to it and tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
So please enjoy.
We
We did not
plan
rehearse
that.
this. Okay, roll it.
Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you with us. We love all the origin stories. So can you talk a little bit about yourself and how you got, I know it's a big question, but how you got to here doing the mediumship work that you do now?
Okay, so the abridged version we'll try for. I'm also pretty ADD, so we'll see if it's abridged and if it all goes in flow here. But
you're in good company.
Oh, perfect. Most of us are, right?
Yeah.
So when I was probably about, I want to say in the 6th grade or so, I was around 12 years old. I was that weird kid who was always like making like potions in the backyard with like the mud and the bowls and the twigs and like all the things, right? And my younger sister, she was the hot one, right? Like she was cool. It was fine. It's fine. I had a lazy eye when I was like 4. My fate was sealed. Okay. So that's what it was. I was always that kid. I was always that kid who was into like the Salem witch trials, and I was really into learning about like tarot and all of that from a pretty young age, I would say. And then as I got a little bit older, my parents, I think they're kind of an anomaly. They live in the same house. I'm 35 years old. They live in the same house that I was born, that they bought 2 weeks before I was born.
Wow.
So they've been in that house for 35 years. Yeah. Well, my stepdad's there now, but that like copy paste, get rid of that was fine. That was great. My mom is still there though. She's been in that same house for that long. And
amazing.
I lived there. I can remember just having like the weirdest experiences where we would be, so I grew up in like outside of Buffalo, New York. So there's a lot of snow, and that's important because you would hear someone like pound on the side door, like punk, punk, punk. It's like an old wooden door. The house was built in like 1919, I think. So old creaky house. And then you'd hear someone pounding on the door. The dog would bark. Everyone would like hear it. Everyone heard it. You'd go to the door, snow on the ground, no footprints, nothing. No one, totally freaky. Right. And then we had this, my mom was really into, I don't know if she was really into the farmhouse charm or if it was just that like we were really broke and it was a small town near a farm area. Just like by default, now it's cool, but back then it was just what it was, right?
Yeah.
So we had these like, those half shutters that they go in on like the bottom part of the window, but not the top. So instead of having like curtains or like pull down blinds, it was just these wooden shutters that would shut on the front.
Yeah.
Like the window, but on the inside of the house. So she would shut those at night. I can't do windows at night at all, period, done. Close all the blinds. I don't play that game. Yeah. I don't play that game for reasons, but mostly because I'm 35 and I'm still a baby. So I know, but I would be laying on our couch that backed up to our front window. And you just like, I always felt like the hair on the back of my neck standing up, like someone was just like pacing the porch or looking at me. And it was just so uncomfortable. Ooh. Fast forward to 8th grade. I know, super far jump from like 6th grade to 8th, but fast forward there. And we had a local history like day where people could share. A lot of the people who grew up in that town, their families are still there. Like it's the same 4 or 5 families over and over and over, right? Well, one of them owned the house that was originally like my house and their house were the same lot until it was split, right? So their house was built in like the early 1800s, I think. And that house was actually KKK headquarters for a while.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
In upstate New York, mind you, at that, right? So I think a lot of people don't realize there were a lot of ethnicities and like religions and like different types of people who were targeted by that. So up there, it was, I believe, the Italians that were targeted more. Don't quote me on that, though. Regardless, there was a photograph of that house next door, and my house could be seen in the photo, where you could see just row after row after row of hooded KKK members who were there for a funeral. Okay.
Oh, God.
Now,
okay.
They did funerals in homes back then, right? Like up until the 70s or 80s, I want to say they did that. So when I saw those photos and you could see people on like their porch, on our porch, they were going like rows and rows back into this field we used to play in. Like, oh my God, they were everywhere. And I remember seeing that and thinking like, oh, so much has been explained to me. My brother and I used to see like people in like those hooded robes, like in this garage where our neighbor would keep his classic cars. And then one in like a red robe, which like history would teach me was the headmaster, right? So oh my God, chills on that. I have chills just talking about that now. And then my grandmother raised her daughters in a house that was originally that area. It was in the Erie County Railroad area in New York State. And the people who dug out for the railroad and the history behind that, it's dark. It gets really dark. It gets really terrible. There's a lot of like murders. There's a lot of like prostitution. There's a lot of just like negative connotations and negative energy around that. Well, not only that, but that area was largely indigenous American. And a lot of that area had burial grounds on it. And this is not like rumor or like whatever. This is like written in history. Okay. You can prove it, not just like, oh, I'm part Cherokee. It's not that kind of BS. Okay. Like every white person thinks. I'm just saying, but like also, I'm so sorry for the editing you're going to have to do.
No, I have zero edits so far.
So I told you we're here for it.
Yeah.
So that house had a lot of really negative energy as well. There was a burial ground that was moved. My mom told her mom, who I get a lot of my personality from. My mom was the sweet one in the family that skipped a generation. Like we're just a little bit more out there other than her. She's very sweet, very, very demure, very mindful.
Very cutesy.
Yeah. She told her mom she was seeing angels in the backyard. And her mom said, shut your freaking mouth. She would not believe that. Well, then later she ended up hearing drums, like think like stereotypical, like indigenous drums in her room.
Did?
And my mom did.
Uh-huh.
And now my grandma called us years later, still in the time of the phone on the wall and the voice recording, right on the wall for sure, the little tape on there. But she said, I heard the goddamn drums and hung up. I'll never forget that voice recording. The longest I lived, she was pissed.
That's
a big match. So
that's funny.
So she heard it, and we would always feel that at her house. Well, fast forward one more time, my brother ended up dating a woman who owned the house next door to where my grandma had lived for years. She had since passed, but he moved into that house, to the next door neighbor's house with his girlfriend. Now my brother's a plumber. So the person who was working on the house found out he was a plumber. He's like, hey, do you want to do some side work for me? My brother's like, hell yeah, I'll do some side work. He said that he could not be in that house for more than 10 minutes at a time without feeling like he couldn't breathe. He felt like someone was always right behind him. So we went to visit. I went up for a visit for the holidays. And while I was up there, he's like, do you want to see if we can go inside? I told the guy that like, you were coming to town and grandma used to live here. You want to go in? I am telling you, you walked in those stairs, the whole house was redone. When I was there, she had antique railroad equipment. Why? Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a choice. That's
antique
a choice.
farming equipment hanging on the brick wall. Brick retains energy. Like all the no.
Yeah,
Okay?
thank you.
Like, that typewriter you can see behind me is the oldest thing I have in my house.
Yeah.
And that shit's clear. We good. Okay? But no, her house is terrifying. You would walk as a child. We would stand at the bottom of her stairs and just stare. And we hated it. We hated it. No one had sleep over the grandma's house. It was really scary.
Chills. Yeah.
We did not like it. I left that house feeling like my whole chest was being compressed. And a friend of mine who is also very spiritual left the house and was sick to her stomach. It was horrible there.
Whoa.
So that's loosely how I kind of started. I was just thrown into it. We had, this sounds insane, but I mean, I think we already passed that. So we had a cuckoo clock growing up that was handcrafted during World War II in Germany. My mom always wanted a cuckoo clock.
You had a what?
Cuckoo clock.
Oh, cuckoo clock. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So if I speak too fast too, just like slow me down.
No,
okay?
I just missed that word.
Upstate New Yorker comes out and it just flies.
Oh yeah, we're from California, so
perfect. Right. Okay. So we good, right?
I don't know.
We talk real
I'm 15
slow.
years in the South now. 15 years down here, and I'm still like, come on, you guys, say it, come on, spit it out. I don't know what I'm waiting for here.
I'm a slow puppy, so I might.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh my God, no, not down here. Waiting tables down here is a nightmare. Yeah, spit it out, man. Okay,
God.
so we had this clock, and the clock would never work at our house, but it would work every time she'd take it to the repair shop, have it hung up, and it'd be on the wall, and they'd wind the clock, I swear to God, and it would work. And then she'd bring it home, they'd hang it, and it wouldn't work. And it was the most mind-boggling thing in the world. But when it would work at home, it would only cuckoo like 13 times, or it would and like chills. I don't even like talking about this clock, okay? Like, it really freaked me out. There was one point, I was a teenager, and that clock went like, it just would not stop. And my sister and I were looking at each other like, hell, why won't it stop cuckooing? And it's got to be like 2 or 3 in the morning. We're up on AOL Instant Messenger, like messaging boys, right? And like DRB, our phonic clock. Yeah. So, LOL. Yeah. So that clock just went like haywire. And I said, I hate that effing clock. I hate that clock so much. That night, do you remember those tall lamps, like those aqua stick lamps that were like 4 feet tall? They had like a heavy base and you could put like fake fish in there, and they had like, okay, maybe I was just way less cool than everybody else. Well, one of those.
Sorry, I just bought it on Amazon, so I think.
They're like a...
but like a giant lava lamp almost.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Put fake fish in it. I remember seeing those, yeah.
It had like a really heavy base, but I remember that night that I said like how much I hated that clock and I couldn't stand it, and I wanted my mom to take it down. And I realized how stupid this sounds. That lamp got knocked over and smacked me in the head in the middle of the night. It scared the crap out of me. Okay. Like people wouldn't sleep, friends wouldn't sleep over at our house because you could hear someone going like running up the stairs or down the stairs. Turns out the previous owner was a widow because her husband fell down the stairs having a heart attack.
Stop.
Didn't know that until I moved out. I was really happy to find that out after. Yeah, there was lots of stuff.
Okay, so you were just like covered in haunted locations
everywhere,
and then I had items.
Yeah,
this is wild.
And then this psychic in Rochester, New York, said to me, I was like, why are there always like spirits everywhere I go? And she's like, it's not you. She's like, it's not the houses you live in, it's you. You're like a lighthouse. Well, as you can see, I am blonde. At one point, it was natural. I am not really all that like spot on sometimes. Didn't occur to me then that she was saying, hey, yo, girl, you can talk to dead people. No, didn't click at all. It was like another 10 years from there. But yeah, I know.
Oh, so you were like, I'm a lighthouse. Like,
I attract it. I didn't think I could manipulate it, control it at all.
Wow.
I'm a very spell it out kind of person. Lose the keys while they're in the hand. It's just the way it is, I guess. But it turned out in 2019, I went to kind of like a networking party with a girlfriend who we just were forcing each other to not be hermits and get out of the house. And we found this like psychic event. We were like, fuck it, let's go. So we went to the event and we like had to promise back and forth, like, you won't bail if I won't bail. I won't bail, right? Because totally antisocial, right? And so we get to the party and the psychic that was working there looked me over, like up and down. I'm like, I'm 5'4", I'm not massive, right? But she was even like teeny tiny. And I just felt like, sit down, please. I'm so scared. And I went in to sit with her, and every reading, you could see it was in this like glass room. It was at a real estate office. It was in this glass room. You could see everyone getting their reading, and she was standing there just like very animated with her movements and everything. And then I looked at this woman next to me and I said, she better sit when she talks to me, or my anxiety is going to be like through the roof. You're going to stand there and wave your arms around like that in front of me? I cannot do that. That is going to be just way too much for me. All I want to do is talk to my grandma.
Yeah.
Dear sweet grandma. And so I didn't get to talk to grandma, but I went in there and I sat down, and she went, you know what? I feel like I need to sit down. I was the only one she sat for.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she said, I feel like I need to sit down, I was like, oh shit, it's about to get real.
Yeah,
this is going to be real. I've had some bad readings. This is going to be spot on.
Oh man.
And she says, you're reading people without their permission and it's rude. Like, she was calling me out, and I said, I'm sorry, what? Again, keys in the hand, right? Yeah. Did not click. And so she continued to recount all of these experiences where I would hear one thing on the surface, and then I would know someone meant something completely different. Or she's like, even at work, people give you like their orders. I was waiting tables. She says, they give you their order, but they haven't given you their order yet. And they look at you like you're crazy when you say it out loud to them, right? I'm like, yeah, that happens a lot, actually.
Oh my God. That was your first clue.
I still messed it up all the time, though. I'm going to be real with you. Just saying, that ADD.
But that's just a memory versus like knowing.
Memory versus spirit, right? Oh. Spirit hooked you up with that cheeseburger. My memory screwed you over for sure.
Yeah, your memory's like, I forgot they didn't want pickles.
It was wild. So that had to be in like, say that was in January, February. I had quit my job by March. I was like, I quit. I'm doing this full time. I'm going to study this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Geez. Way to like go with the flow first. Oh, well, that's how we started, isn't it?
Go with the flow, jump all in, say, fuck it, my life's a mess. Let's do this. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it got me to here. So I'll take it.
That's awesome.
I always land on my feet somehow.
You were like, now it's time to do it full time. Did you start going into like mediumship development things or classes or what?
So that woman who originally approached me and like scared the ever loving crap out of me. She's like, look, I teach this. She's like, if you want, I can teach it to you. She's like, I swear to God, I'm not trying to just take your money. She's like, I'll give it to you for like half off. You pay nothing. Just like, you need to do this. You should be sitting where I am.
Wow.
I was like, well, I mean, I'll talk to my husband. This, again, was 2019. Things have changed. But so I went home and I told him, and I was like, so this is what she said. And I mean, her course is like $200 and I think I'm going to do it. And he said, well, you spend $200 on dumber shit than that. So why not? And I thought, oh, stamp of approval. Let's go, honey, right?
Supportive question mark.
It's all in the way that you say it. I'm sure at the time I was like, oh, thanks, babe. Right?
Yeah.
Hindsight is so good. So I took a class with her. It was literally 4 weeks long. And during one of the weeks, she had me she wanted me to connect with her brother who had passed. And I got like this insanely overwhelming sense of just like I had to run, and I'm describing him to her and I'm telling her what I'm feeling, but I'm just doing this from like raw, whatever I get. Like I've never done this on purpose before, right? On purpose. So I'm sitting there explaining this to her, and I feel like this jolt, and I feel like something in my arm, and I don't physically feel like this all the time. For the record, that was the last time I felt like that, because I did not want to. And so I felt like this heat in my arm, and I felt it spread all down my spine and go down, 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 down. It just like was spreading this heat down through my body. And then I told her, I was like, I want it to stop. I don't want to do this. I want it to stop. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. It was completely freaking me out. And she's like, okay, well, we'll close it off. We'll thank him for being here. She's like, so my brother was actually a drug addict. And when he was being chased by the police, they gave him something like a sedative, but he had a reaction to it. And they gave him the shot in the arm, and it went like, I'm assuming you felt it like reacting in your body. I am telling you, I was like, I'm not feeling like that ever again. I hated that. Now, at the time, my now ex was outside with a friend of his sitting on our back deck, and they came running in the house because they thought they heard me scream. I did not scream.
What?
It was the weirdest entire world.
Why did that give me chills?
Yeah.
That's so confusing.
Because who screamed? I don't know.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
And they both heard it.
Oh, that's so strange.
You like astral screamed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. So this is the thing about me though, with the work that I do. I believe that a lot of people, especially as mainstream as like spiritual stuff, we'll call it, has become, I think a lot of people look for other people's beliefs and other people's practices to latch onto. So I feel like I got the bare minimum of like the ethics that I think are massively important behind connecting, especially for other people. And I got the how to really protect your energy, especially after that, how to ground yourself and how to disconnect from people and energies and things that you don't want to be connected to. Those are the most important things I took from working with her. From there, I decided when I meditate, which is not often enough lately, but when I meditate, when I connect, I am taking with me what I learn, what I feel. So when I'm doing things like going live on TikTok and I get 1,000,001 questions about twin flames and soulmates and all this, I'm like, I don't know. That's not my shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
If you feel in your heart of hearts, sure, but I think you could use a therapist and some self-healing and some work. Like we all could, honestly, but like, it ain't him, homie. It ain't him. And I think like, that's where it's taken such a massive, wild turn into like spirituality as like a magic like pill for people right now, right? And it's not. So I don't know what you would call a lot of what I do, but I know what I do, if that makes sense.
You went straight from 4 weeks to now I'm a professional medium, or?
No. So I did start doing readings for people, and that was too soon. And I definitely learned that. But I was like, a lot of them were like, hey, can I connect for you? Can I try? Can I see what I can feel? It was like with people who were really open to it.
Yeah.
And then I went for a Reiki certification because I ended up having a Reiki session with someone that was recommended to me. I was like, what is Reiki? And I went and learned about that, and I got certified or attuned in Reiki. I just level 2. I never went back for master because of COVID, and then I just 3 boys. It's like, life is over.
A little busy.
So I did that, and every chance I ever got to either be reading a book about development or Or I took a couple classes with Lisa Williams, who I know a lot of people would probably recognize the name, like not classes with her, but like her classes that are recorded and I like took after the fact.
Yeah.
I did a lot of Pam, I can't remember her last name and I'm so mad at myself, but she did a course on like connecting to like criminal work that I thought was really cool. So just anytime I see something that is like in the budget, I'm like, I'm taking that class or I'm learning this. So like I have Polish heritage, hence the last name Ostrowski. So looking into like, what does it mean to be like a Polish witch and like practice like that kind of thing? Because I think like you should practice something close to like what your ancestry is, but also it's such a melting pot of things that I think there's a lot of respect to be paid and borrowing practices and all that. But anywhere I can learn something, I do. I dove in too fast for sure. However, I will say hindsight, I at least had a really natural knack for what I was doing.
I mean,
and
sounds like it.
Enough fear of like not wanting to cross someone's boundaries that I was very respectful of like, and very aware of people's emotions. So that was helpful in gauging like how far I could go. And every time I would connect, I would be asking like, please only deliver me messages of their highest good. So if someone's not ready to hear something, they're not ready to hear it. That's not my call. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to know it. You give it to me, I'll give it to them. If I don't get it from spirit, it's not mine to give.
So now you have your own like business and people book mediumship through you, or
yes.
what are your services exactly?
Yeah. So I offer psychic and mediumship readings. Mediumship always, I feel like it's going to come in
Sure.
no matter what. Like you don't really have to book that separate with me. I know some people do that, but I don't really feel like you can unblend them if they want to be blended. But that's, I guess, again, everyone has their own style, right? Largely my readings I feel like the clients I call in are the people who are really kind of like on the precipice of change and they don't really know where they're going. And it's typically, I think spirit brings you people who have walked very similar paths to you. And they bring you people on that path that are maybe a few steps behind where you are now so that you can see it with more empathy, or maybe that's just what I'm calling in. So I typically end up working with women, mostly with women but I do have a good number of like favorite male clients that come to me pretty regularly, actually. They're mostly working through like the end of a relationship or getting into relationships or career changes or just like that upheaval of like, oh my God, I just spent the last decade of my life having children and being like a cog in the machine of family. Like, who am I now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was something that I stayed so hell bent on never losing that I think because I had horrible postpartum depression, I was like, I need to find me. And that was like, ended up being really impactful for the work that I do now. But I mostly work with women who are looking to reconnect with a sense of self and kind of find like just a path that feels more fulfilling. I don't want to say your purpose because I feel like most people's purpose is just honestly to find something that they enjoy doing and really live their life in a way that they're full of that joy, which sounds really basic, I realize. But when you're full of joy, you spread it to other people and the world slowly becomes a better place. And the cynical, sarcastic person in me hates saying shit like that. So you have to know I really believe it. Like, it hurts sometimes. But so I do psychic work, I do mediumship, and I used to do more Reiki healing, but I've kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit just because I don't feel like it.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Like Reiki, depending on how you perform it, Reiki can be boring. It can be a drag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd prefer it in person. I don't like doing it distance.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't like that either.
Yeah. Okay.
Everywhere.
I saw one of your TikTok videos. You were talking about, it's probably when I contacted you because I was like, ooh, this is cool. You were talking about connecting to like serial killers. You're like, oh, I've like contacted serial killers. Like, I want to know what's up. Can you, what happened?
I sit here laughing about that, right? Like, it's like cute or something. Yeah. Okay. So I did that and I stand behind it. And I will tell you when I stopped doing that. And I wish I didn't. So, social media can be brutal. Yeah. Like for sure. I had this really crazy experience for the first 4 years I was on TikTok where no one was mean to me.
Wow. That's
It
nice.
was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Okay. Like a couple of people like saying something about my nose or whatever, but like even then, like, cool, whatever. I know it's big, it's good. I don't give a shit, right? Like whatever. I grew up with the last name Ostrowski. You probably can't make fun of me in any worse ways. Like we're good here. So whatever. So anyway, no one was mean to me. I started doing this stuff before TikTok was popular, right? So my first lives and all that were on Facebook. Like that's where I would go live. I'd post like a oracle card of the day, and I'd give you a sweet message and say something inspiring, and it was great. But sorry, divorce later. No, I'm just kidding. So I would really just try to. Typically, it was something encouraging to like help me keep like feeling like a pleasant person at the time. That's where it started. And then I had this podcast called Project Healing that I had started with a girlfriend who was really into essential oils. And then we did that podcast for a little bit, and it was about all the different ways in which people heal, whether it's like comedy and dance and like different therapy modalities. And it was great until I had my third son, and I was like, you know what? I'm not in this anymore. I feel like you kind of took it over, and not in a bad way. I'm just like, this isn't mine anymore. It's yours. So you take it, you do with it what you will. And she did it for a little bit. So after that, I was like, man, I really miss podcasting a lot. And so I started a podcast called Murder and Mediumship, about like people who have been murdered or who are missing. And I would feel into that. And honestly, I would lay down for a meditation and I would ask a name and a location to come to me. And then I would look up Destiny, Maryland. And then it would come up with like this woman who was shot and killed in her hair salon in Maryland. And I was like, no shit. And when it like every time something would connect, I was like, this is pretty cool. That's how it started. Well, I've always been obsessed with true crime. Like I'm pretty sure Law and Order SVU just lived on my TV on like, what was it, TBS back in the day. Yeah. So it was just over and over, dun, dun, right? Like all the time. So I was really into it, and I kind of started to think I've also always really been into psychology. So I thought, like, why did these people get to this point? Like, what really drove them there? How did they end up being so broken, or were they born that way? Like, what were their experiences? I really genuinely want to know. Well, some people were really cool with that. So I did an interview with Bonnie and Clyde. I did an interview with Elizabeth Bathory. Look her up if you don't know who she is. She was from like the 1500s. Talk about a slave fest. She would just like take freaking peasants from the street and torture them for like days. And like, oh my God, I don't even want to say it, but like the stories that like you can read about her. And I contacted her. She was the scariest actually. What is her name? Eileen Wuornos, the female serial killer who was a prostitute, and then she would kill her Johns. Basically, they kind of deserved it, in my opinion. Most of them were cheating on their wives, and I just want to say shame on them, okay? So so I wanted to know, like, why are they doing this? What drove them here? So that was the whole motive behind it. And then I connected to, if you look on my YouTube, you'll see videos of me doing this where I connected to Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy. That was a really awful one as well. And then I started saying, like, no one that involved children. I can't do that, especially because Gacy was involved with like little boys so much. My mom was two boys. Like it was just too, I couldn't, right? Yeah. So I was doing those. If you look those videos up, I have like dark brown hair. These were years ago. And it was a lot of fun, honestly. Like connecting to Charles Manson, it sounds insane, but like there was one point where I could feel his energy so strongly. I didn't want to channel them because I didn't want to let that energy like directly.
I was going to say, how did this work? Yeah.
But with Manson, it felt like I could feel him like standing, like blending with my shoulder. And it just felt like this, like, can we move over? Like, I don't like this. It's too much. Yeah. But after the movie about Dahmer came out, what was that, last year, I think? About Jeffrey Dahmer, when that came out with the guy who was an American Horror Story. Yeah. I made a TikTok that said like something about how I could connect with serial killers as a medium. And I did one about Dahmer, and it got over 4 million views. And I was not prepared at all for the blowback. So people were like, those poor victims and this and that. And I sat with it and I was like, you know what? The presentation probably wasn't very ethical. And it really started to bother me the way that I had done it, but I'm going to tell you what sealed the deal for me, because part of me, I think 100% I was being a baby and I wanted everyone to stop being mean to me. So I deleted it. Okay.
Mhm.
But it also, I don't look, I want everyone to like me. Okay. I'll say it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
I do too. It's fine.
I mean, it's fine, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ran across a TikTok account of Maura Murray, who is very well known in the true crime industry as a woman who disappeared in the early 2000s. She was never found. It's a very strange story. She was one of the first episodes I ever produced about someone missing and felt into the case. I came upon her sister Zetta's too, TikTok about her sister, about Maura, who was missing. And it was all about what you experience as a family of the victim in the aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
And after I binge watched her videos, I was like, I have to change how I'm doing this. I can't do this anymore like this. It feels unethical. I don't like it. I'm not doing it for clout. This all started with me having a curiosity about this. But in exploring my curiosity, I feel like I could have done some very offensive or said some very offensive things inadvertently without intending to about people who have passed, or just exploring it could be like super triggering for their family. However, I will also say there are 3 people that stick out in my mind of cases that I looked into who did contact me and either thank me for it or ended up asking me if they could try to connect to their loved one. And in both, it's not like I was like, yeah, $55 right here. I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And 2 of them I'm still in touch with. One of them actually borrowed a track from my podcast for his rap video. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
What? So, I mean, it definitely served a purpose. And I started to, after that, reevaluate, and I changed how I was doing it. And I let the names come to me intuitively, but I stopped so much connecting in that way because it felt a little too circusy for what mediumship can be.
Sure. Let me ask you, so obviously these people were appreciated as psychotic murderers.
Yeah.
Like when they were alive. How are they when they're dead? Like, are they more ethical? Are they nicer? Are they like, whoops?
So my opinion, and please feel free to share yours as well. I feel like you can connect to spirit in different places of their lives, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when I connect to someone's grandfather, I think it's really funny to me that very often men to me show up as like younger and more attractive, no matter how old they were when they passed. Whereas like if you lost your grandma, I'm not going to see her like sitting in a hot rod in her 20s. Like that's not what I see.
Yeah.
But the man is like 40 something, like working on his car. I'm like, were you like flexing for the medium or something? Like, I don't understand it. But they show up, I feel, as like the strongest point in their personality. And if you're trying to connect to the energy of that time period for them, I think that's what you're going to connect to. But then there's also like that healing or healed version, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like, are they psychotic or are they traumatized would probably make a difference there as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like if I connect to someone who has just recently, or I'll use a further back experience I had. I used to connect with this guy pretty regularly. He would book a reading, and when he would book, you could tell, like just something, you could feel it, and you'd look into the energy and things just didn't quite connect. They didn't make sense. And I could feel what he was feeling and thinking, but I couldn't put together the reality of it to try to like piece these things. So after a while, it became less of like, I would be like, hey, please don't book. I'm just checking in with you though. Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Are you all right? Like, how's your daughter? Has she come to visit you lately? Like that kind of stuff. Because it's concerning, right? Or you connect to someone. I've had people try to work with me in like the coaching capacity. And I've said, you know what? I feel like, in other words, but like you need a therapist, not a coach.
Right.
There's a difference, and I don't mean that as like a slight or a joke either.
Yeah.
Like I freaking love therapy, but like 100%, there are things like bipolar disorder or borderline personality or schizophrenia, or even when people are suffering from Alzheimer's when they pass, that energy shows up differently. So to connect to someone like Ted Bundy, to me, it just felt like that, like psychopathic, narcissistic kind of like, I'm hot shit kind of energy, right? But then connecting to like Manson, he felt really broken, like really sad. It was really heavy and really sad.
Yeah. I mean,
Sunday it was like talking to my ex. I didn't like it.
You're giving
Move
Bundy.
Move away from me, please.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Because I haven't thought about the fact that you are connecting with them for the energy that they're putting off in that period of time.
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it could be different though, because like I've also connected to, I remember connecting for, we had a roommate for a very brief period and he had a very racist grandfather. And I remember connecting to him and it was the same shit. Like that man was not healing.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
He was still making like racist comments about that guy's girlfriend who was not white. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's kind of like a reflection of like, you think about it, if you're looking for an evidential medium and they're presenting you as like these racist comments or like things that they would say in their personality, that is going to verify that it's that person, right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting because I mean, everyone says like your soul evolves and your soul like learns and you're always evolving as soon as you pass into the other realm. But like, it's also that idea of like time is so different. So are you connecting to like this other version of them, you know, the version that hasn't evolved yet, like you were saying, to get the actual evidence of like, is this you?
Have you ever asked to connect with like healed Manson? Is that
no?
Okay.
That's an interesting idea though. But it makes me think of like my third baby is an IUD baby. Okay, that was a big surprise, really big surprise. And I saw a psychic, this matters, I promise. I saw a psychic who said in like summer of 2019, she was like, you're going to get pregnant with a third kid. And I was like, okay, she sucks at her job. I've got an IUD. Whatever. And she said, no, your grandma wants to come back. And I'm like, okay, well, my sister, my little baby sister is trying to get pregnant. So give it on over, right? Like tell grandma to pass it over. And she's like, well, she's showing me like Michael Jackson. She starts naming these Michael Jackson songs. I'm like, yeah, grandma, I get it. It's her. I feel ya. I believe you. But tell her there is like a dam in place. It's not happening. No. December 6th, 2019, I found out I was pregnant. I could not tell you the dates for the other two that I found out, but I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Grandma punched her way
Did
through.
She come back?
Yeah.
Because if she came back as him, which I don't think that she did, but if she did, then her energy is still on the other side as my grandma. But then she's also here as my son.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's always so interesting to me.
Yeah. What does that do? Well, for the record, his birthday is her ex-husband, my grandfather. It's his birthday. They were born on the same day.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Does your son say anything? Like, are there any inklings yet where you're like,
he's 4. He's full of shit and he's a great storyteller. So he could be just like my grandfather. But he's also a little piss pot. And I love him so much. He is me, okay? But when that kid is in a mood, that scowl, like we all have this on my face here. I know if people are just listening, they can't see it, but that brow crease, like we're born with that. And the women in my family, we just have it. Hey, like it would break Botox. It's not a thing. You can't get rid of it. So I've tried. I'm not even kidding you. So that child, when he's angry, instant that face. And it's just what it is. So his middle name is also my grandma's last name. Oh. So there's a lot. There's a lot. Could he be? Very possibly. I don't know. His anxiety is healed if it is him. And she would come back as a man. Like, I'm just saying, she would be here to raise hell. So it could be. But my point here was, though, that like that energy is on 2 different planes then, right? And so can you exist in those 2 different planes? You can, right? You can be in multiple places, I guess.
That's the same as someone saying like that, you know, one spirit is visiting someone it's 2 different people at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
it's possible.
Time is our prison, not theirs. That's all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're so bound to it. Yeah. I'm really fascinated by connecting with serial killers.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who my least favorite was? Should I tell you?
Least favorite in what sense?
Yeah.
Least favorite as in I could not shake the energy.
Ooh,
I feel like I had to cleanse my house multiple times after Dahmer. Okay. There was just something really uncomfortable that just felt like that, that monotone, like that, like, and that like almost like his eyes are monotone, like they're dead.
Yeah.
Right. And you could just feel like this flat push down energy for like, I don't even know how long. I'm telling you, like with windows, I felt like I couldn't walk past the front windows of my house. I just like, I didn't like it. I could not shake his energy at all.
I mean, even in like pictures I've seen, like he looks like he's half there.
Yeah. Did you ask questions?
I did. You know what? I'm pretty sure the interview is still up.
We should find that.
You should watch it.
Okay.
You should watch it.
Yeah, because
it was uncomfortable. I think if I did that again, because I wouldn't be unwilling to, for the record. I'm the person, I'll go, no, I don't think so. And you're like, come on. I'm like, okay, let's go.
All right, fine.
One more.
Yeah.
Just one more.
Exactly. Always here for a good time. Hold my beer. Let's go. Yeah, I think that I would do it again, but I would have someone else. I would probably have someone ask questions so I could get more into a state of it rather than just trying to like channel and come up with stuff on my own. That was definitely a little more difficult, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even just for comfort, I feel like I would want to do that with somebody. Like just have somebody
else with you.
Yeah.
Hold my hand.
Yeah. I'm about to talk to.
It was I will say that I always kind of envisioned like another version of myself, like standing with their hand on my shoulder on one side, and then I would bring spirit on the other. And I don't do that when I'm connecting just in like a regular reading.
Right.
So I think that was just like an extra level of protection that I didn't realize I was doing at the time, but that's how it always came in.
No, I feel like you're very good at this concept of like splitting of self for various purposes. It's a hard thing to comprehend.
I get, you know what? Do you think that's like some level of disassociating essentially? It's just like a control. I'm not even kidding. Like,
listen, in the woo community, we call it our higher selves. Okay.
Okay. My higher self was done with me playing with murderers, but I mean, it was so fun.
I think it's kind of funny that you were scared of like a cuckoo clock, but then also willing to be like,
yeah, Dahmer's fine.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Dahmer's totally fine. Yeah.
Come talk to me.
100%. I feel you. I understand. What is it? So I'm dating someone who's for his job supposed to be able to be very sneaky and very quiet and very stealthy. And I hate it because he has a key to my house. And every once in a while, if he gets off work really late, he'll come in. But the dogs know him by now, right?
Yeah.
So they don't do anything. And I told him the other day, like, he was not on his way the other night. He was still at work. And I messaged him, like, I'm in the shower and I thought I heard something. I grabbed my phone. I'm like, babe, are you here? No. You got to stop coming over without telling me because like I'm jumping at everying now.
Oh my God.
He could come all the way up the stairs in that silence and have his face like right here before I wake up.
No.
That scares me more. No real people. I don't want to do real people stuff. Also, you can't catch a broken nose. What are you doing?
Yeah, you're going to get smacked.
It's just sneaky.
Listen,
my littlest is like that too. I'm like, where did you come from?
In Kathryn's world, the lamps are already hitting you on their own. You should see what happens when she picks one up.
Yeah.
I'm a chicken ass medium. I really am. Everything startles me. What it is.
Oh my gosh. So like, it seems like you were so naturally while you were like developing, you were so naturally intuitive. And how many things were you sensing and feeling without knowing that was a part of your intuition? Before you like actually got into training?
In hindsight?
Yeah.
When I learned that I could shut that door, my anxiety probably dropped tenfold.
Wow.
Whoa.
Holy crap. Just realizing what I like, my mentor at the time ran over a conversation that I had with my mom where I had actually put her on speakerphone for my ex to hear so I could listen. I was like, what was her problem? She was so annoyed with me. I didn't even say anything wrong. I don't understand. He's like, she sounded totally fine. And I thought, well, I probably just know her better. And then I started to like run over all the times in my life where I have thought like, oh my God, they really did mean that. I really was annoying them.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, right. But like you think about it, like your truth detector or lie detector, right?
Yeah.
So hindsight, all of the times that I felt spirit, just thinking about like where I grew up with like a wildlife refuge nearby. We grew up next to an indigenous American reservation. A lot of energy there. a lot of drug use in small towns, right? So a lot of energy there. I thought about even the house that I grew up in with like feeling less of other people's deceased loved ones, just their energy, like walking into a room and feeling an argument.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one for me. Like I always felt uncomfortable standing between my grandma and my grandpa, but it never made sense to me until as an adult, I was like, oh, that was the I'm Catholic and I should have divorced 40 years ago energy.
Oh,
like,
God.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
That though, right?
Yeah.
Or being at family gatherings with like that cousin that you just never really quite liked. And then you realize it's because like they're kind of a stuffy asshole and they don't like you either. So that's why you feel more like turned off. No, you're not like the popular one when you're the one in the family where everyone's a teacher or a bank teller or like a plumber and you're like, oh, I talk to dead people. It doesn't win you like, it wins you being alone. I'm kidding. I'm totally joking. But like 100%, I think that my hindsight of what I was feeling, I was taking on a lot of other people's emotions and calling in a lot of negative emotions and a lot of negative experiences, because I think like as a fixer and a healer, that's just what you feel called to do. And I really think like if I had learned how to shut off and shut down and not feel that kind of stuff before, I probably wouldn't have married my ex. Like it would have been very clear to me, you know?
Yeah.
So
like
you're saying because of your sensitivity to like those feelings and those emotions that people were secretly like bottling up, that you were actually attracted to them because you recognized that and you stopped. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, think about it. Like when you see someone repeating patterns within their family, like the nurses who marry the abusive alcoholic, like over and over, and then they divorce and like, I found my green flag. And then you're like, Linda, no, you didn't. Like, right. And that kind of thing, right? Because they search for familiar. And so energy matches energy. So if like my childhood trauma meets your childhood trauma and I'm very intuitive and I want to fix your trauma, I'm going to latch onto your energy without even realizing that's what it is that I'm feeling. People who get in those relationship dynamics don't realize that they're more intuitive or that they're more tapped into their intuition than they think that they are. And I know some people will call that like trauma, being more aware, but hi, what is being more aware? Your intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all the same. Does that mean that it's like I feel like my intuition, your intuition, we could all flex that, get to the same like level of like, what is it, like of depth or of like strength for sure. But I also think that there's like a natural, like some people are just naturally better at it. Like some people are natural spellers or athletes or mathematicians and that sort of thing. I think it's one of those things that you're just naturally good at.
Yeah.
I think some people's trauma like overwhelms their ability to even see their own intuition.
Yeah.
Right. Like
you second guess it. Right.
Yeah. It's so loud that,
and once to that point, my intuition's obviously very strong. I use it every day. Like I've monetized it. This is how I pay my bills. This is how I take care of my family. However, I also know that after being in the relationship that I was in for as long as I was, now that I'm dating again, my trauma very loudly overshadows my intuition when it comes to my healthy relationship and me going like, is that normal?
Wow.
Is that normal? Is that okay? My intuition says, shut up, anxiety. So I think that applies to like everybody, really. You can learn to hear your intuition, but then your anxiety or your depression or your past experiences, even if it doesn't go to the point of like categorizing it as one of those two things, are going to speak louder because logic wants to win because we're taught to listen to logic, right?
Yeah.
We're taught to ignore our gut feelings and go with logic.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so hard to be a sensitive person. I haven't thought about it in the way that you are presenting it now. And I'm like, oh yeah, my entire life has been a nightmare because of that. And maybe I have been calling it in on my own on accident.
My favorite thing I think right now is working with, there's a couple of honestly, the men that I've met that are more into the intuitive things have all started getting into this to debunk it in one sense or another. And then they end up going, oh shit, I'm intuitive. It's my favorite. And there's two I can think of off the top of my head that I met through podcast interviews. And every once in a while they're like, hey, Kathryn. I'm like, yeah, it's your intuition. Shut up. You're good, man.
That's so
Come
funny.
work with me soon. I promise. It's all right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It really makes
both
people so deeply uncomfortable to like the concept that we're all connected in ways you can't see. And I feel like it makes dudes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It does make you guys uncomfortable. I am telling you, the one time I texted my guy and I said, hey, did you guys have turbulence on that flight? And he's like, sometimes you scare the shit out of me. You're in turbulence right now. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's weird how connected we all are.
How did that come through for you?
Yeah.
I just felt like I wanted to text him and ask him. So
you had like a knowing?
It's just a knowing.
Yeah.
It used to be more of like a hearing, but there was this one experience where I was reading for a group of older women and we were talking about a very heavy subject. One of their sons had taken his own life and it just kept getting deeper and the energy was very, very like unhealed and it was very heavy and it was very sad. And I could not get him. I was out of my element, honestly, at that point. And it was early on in the game or in what I was doing. And I started hearing just say beaver. I'm like, why would I say beaver? And it's just like over and over, I'm hearing this voice, just say beaver, just say beaver. I'm like, no, definitely not saying beaver. And finally I said, listen, I have to tell you guys, this is the last time I feel like clairaudience was like a strong thing for me because after that it was just knowing. They're like, we're not telling her anymore. She's going to second guess it.
Yeah.
So I finally said, okay, I don't know why, but it's not for me. It's for you. I'm being told to say beaver over and over. I couldn't even finish saying over and over. Five women just like laughing so hard. And I'm just sitting there like the oldest of them had to be in her 80s. Goes, we've been talking about China all day. Because it's like slang for that, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I was mortified. I was just like, I was floored. It was hilarious. It was so funny. So from there on out, that is when I teach these classes, I'm always like, listen, you guys got to just say beaver. There's no way around it. You just have to say it. The message is not for you. That was exactly what they needed to snap them out of it. So I have a clear knowing now instead of hearing because they won't give it to me like that anymore. No, unless there's like a specific laugh or something, then no, I just know it.
How funny is it to be like the messenger, but also the one who's like not in on the inside joke?
Yeah, it's so weird because especially when you're someone who has grappled with like being accepted, like we just said, like, I need to be liked, right?
Yeah.
So you're grappling with like, please like me. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And then you're literally being paid to deliver messages that make zero sense to you.
Right.
You have no control over that. No control. And it's even like, it's a bigger win if you like bring them to tears. You're like, wow, I really did some healing work here today. But my fucking face, my neurospicy face wants to go, yes, I nailed it.
Oh, trust me. Just from helping some people like with emotional stuff, getting them to cry and then secretly cracking a smile. I'm like, I did my job good. It's not.
I did it good. Yeah.
But nobody look at me. Yeah.
Smile when I'm uncomfortable. It's fine, right?
Yeah.
So when you're helping people reconnect with their own sense of self, what is is there a commonality between everybody who's having a hard time, like really adjusting to whatever their new circumstances are that is causing them to have a separation between?
So number one, they're not trusting themselves. Mm-hmm. Number two, there's always a fear of showing up in your authentic self for sure. And that's fair, especially, and I know, well, I can't say especially for women, but I know as a woman, especially growing up in I'm 35, right? So in my experience in the early to mid 2000s, everything was like Hollister, Abercrombie, like size 000. Yeah. And I was like, my fucking pinky might be a 000. And just like, it was hard, right? But it was also, there were a lot of expectations. And I think that we fall away, especially coming from a lot of us from, I want to say like broken homes, but the drama. So coming from divorced families and like, I can remember seeing my mom just kind of really in her feels and letting my dad kind of steamroll her. And I think a lot of girls had that experience of watching their mother be kind of dominated by like an oppressive male figure. I feel like I know more women who have had that experience than not at this point in my life. And, I think a lot of us are struggling through feeling heard, especially in our age bracket, because we were just kind of like, no, you're fine all the time, which to be fair, like my kid falls and hurts himself and they're fine. I'm the first to say, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, let's cut the shit. In my head, I'm going, you're being a baby. Let's go. Grandma used to spit on it and let's go. Right. But like, we good. I think the biggest thing here is reconnecting with your intuition, and that is teaching you to logically trust yourself and then to trust your gut. So we do like really basic things, like walking through, like making a list of 5 things you want to get done that day that are super simple, like brush your teeth, wipe down the sink, like cross those things off so you can see that you trust yourself to do that. And then we start feeling into like, all right, where are places in your life where you had a gut instinct and you followed it or didn't, and what was the outcome? Then we work on like connecting to using better language about yourself. And as silly as that sounds, it's massively important. So if you're working with me, like everybody has to write down 3 things you're proud of yourself for, 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you desire to see manifest in your life every single day. Because when you do that, you're bringing to the forefront of your mind the things that are going well in your life versus focusing on everything wrong. Because there's a lot wrong always, but there's a lot right always. And I think it's human nature to seek suffering, right? So what I was saying is like, it's that sense of like, you're looking for something to be anxious over because we're always looking for something to stress over.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so bad at being humans. We just make things so hard all the time.
We do though.
Sorry, I mean,
we get caught. We're just caught in the physical every day, like the struggle. And it makes sense. Like it takes a lot of brain power to get through a day. That's why everyone complains about adulting all the time. Yeah, I get it. But
like, oh man,
it's all very distracting if you're trying to like also live into your own like spiritual experience.
I think I'm having an existential crisis.
Yeah,
right now.
you put Lauren through something just now.
Sorry.
No, I'm just like, why do we do this?
Unicorns. Gargoyles. Fairies. That's why they live there. It's more peaceful there.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of your clients are, I mean, I don't want to like distill too much, but it seems like there's some, like I said, they're not trusting themselves. It kind of sounds like comes down to like a fear of rejection of your authentic self. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the cool part about doing that work with a medium is we get to bring in grandma, we get to bring in grandpa, we get to bring in your great auntie or whoever. We do some ancestral work, and that is where I get a little woo-woo, a little more woo-woo, but it's cool. You bring in the people from your past that you maybe don't remember, you connect to their energy, and you kind of like do more healing, more Reiki, more like working it into like how do we heal like the family collective.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
That is that is healing.
Cool.
Yeah, that's nice. Ancestral healing.
Is that ancestral healing? Is that the term? Is that where it comes from?
I think so, yeah. So that was something I started, I hate this term, but I had like a download about it. Essentially, I was meditating and I had a download about the healing experience and like what it should look like. And then I bought a book before I was getting on a plane to go to Sedona, because what woo-woo girl doesn't go to Sedona at least once?
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
And so I was going to Sedona and I was reading this book, and within the first few pages, it was describing that same experience that I had already like meditated on and seen in my meditation, like about how to like call ancestors in and connect to their energy. I was like, what the hell? This is crazy. Then I strike up a conversation with the guy next to me. Turns out he's from my hometown and he's a paranormal investigator.
What?
What the hell? It was wild. It was absolutely wild. So
that's cool.
It just falls into place.
Yeah.
All
when
those
you trust it.
synchronicities.
Going with the flow.
Yeah. Are your TikTok lives like you connect with like listeners, chatters? People
so
participants.
I will. I do mostly psychic readings on lives. I like to save mediumship for more private experiences. I'll do it if spirit comes in, but I don't like ask for it because I think it's just, there's so much healing to be had there. There's so much healing, and it's so much easier to hold spirit because frankly, I think a lot of these people who are connecting as a medium on their lives are doing it more from a psychic connection. So they can feel and see and know things about grandma, but to have that real connection, you have to like hold the vibration, and there's conversation, and I think there's more to it than that. So to have a real legitimate mediumship connection, I value that experience in a way that I prefer to have it in a booked session. I think some people are probably like, bitch just wants my money, but I won't. That's how it's gotta be. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll give you the reading, I will tell you if like Cindy's coming back or if Joe's blinking the neighbor, but like I'm not going to connect to grandma on my life. I'm sorry.
Joe's always causing trouble.
Yeah. He's
It's
always
Joe and the neighbor.
Yeah.
So it's usually more psychic stuff on those, or it turns into a lot of like, why are you asking if they're coming back? Let's see what you have to work on first, right? Then
Is
the
it
numbers
always
go down.
relationship stuff?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Yeah.
I start taking shots for every relationship. No, I'm kidding. I don't, but
I'll play that game.
it'd be a lot of fun.
I feel like people, it's got to be like sometimes people ask questions where you're like, you know the answer.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, but you know what? I've also been on that end of it.
Yeah.
When your anxiety to be too much. And I honestly probably would have made fun of it until more recently I got really in my head and I was like, later, I'm like, you asshole, like, you know, you're with a green flag and now you're getting in your head about stuff. Why? Trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it gave me a little bit more understanding for the women who are on there asking, are they going to come back? Are they going to come back? There is one that I refuse to answer though. And that is if I feel into, is so-and-so into you? And then I go, wait a minute, but are you married? I'm no longer answering your question. I won't do it.
Yeah.
I won't do it. And that happens a lot. So
really,
it's
you
the
can
morality police. It's like, I won't. No, thank you. Don't be dirty.
Yeah. Ew.
Like
Get out of here.
That sucks.
Yucky.
That's not like,
That sucks, right?
yeah, that sucks.
Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, somebody find this girl's husband. You go tell him right now.
Yeah.
Get the PI service on the side.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think so, Mr. I am rad or whatever. Like those
Right?
usernames are that's the worst username possible.
I am bad.
I am rad.
I am rad.
I'm rad. Way better than bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay. So you're on TikTok. Where else can everybody find you? Where's your website?
I'm on Instagram. Same username on Instagram. My YouTube channel is Back Out as Murder and Mediumship. That's the name of my podcast. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Get on the email list if you want some early deals and random ramblings every now and then about what the energy is bringing for the month. But it's inconsistent because ADD and 3 kids and but otherwise, yeah. I mean, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Kathryn, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and giving all your insight and therapy.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Thanks for having me on.
You're a blast.
This was fun. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Visit www.clairvoyaging.com for show notes, merch, or just to say hi. If you'd like to support our journey, visit www.buymeacoffee.com/clairvoyaging. This has been a production of Wayfeather Media.